forget about that.
Great. We have an agenda today, a loop based on our best ideas, and we may at some point have a special guest or not. It's like really, we don't know. We don't know. We have no idea, actually.
Right. Okay. Welcome to the Health Tech Talk Show, where interoperability meets a budget operation. With the world famous host, the capitalist queen herself, Kat McDavitt. And our Share Bear socialist, Lisa Bear. So sit back, grab a drink, and enjoy your end of week roundup.
He's my business partner. That's not how it works.
You guys are on.
Oh, everyone. This is the Health Tech Talk Show, as you now know, and we are live at HIMSS. Apologies. This may be a audio only version of the talk show because your eyes are going to be spinning when you see the flickering lights, but we are live with Lyle, Dr. Berkowitz. Yeah, here's this guy. You know what? Why don't you introduce yourself?
Okay. Hey.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you should tell the origin story. Well, tell people who you are, and then we'll tell the origin story.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Lyle Berkowitz. I'm a physician who's become a doctorpreneur. I've been involved in
Medical doctor,
primary care doctor,
MD.
real doctor, actually took care of patients,
Amazing.
but also combined my career with doing health system executive work in the IT and innovation space. And I've been working in digital health for 30 years, advising, starting, companies. And over the past 8-10 years, I've really gone into telehealth. I was an executive at one of the big telehealth companies. Now I run a new telehealth company called KeyCare, which is a national medical group. And our big difference is instead of building new tech from scratch, we use Epic. Because of that, we're able to actually coordinate our care with all the other health systems on Epic, and actually take advantage of all the work that they're doing to build up their tech. So that's the simple explanation. My goal is to improve access to care for everybody and do it in a coordinated way.
Yeah, I was really surprised because I thought I knew a lot about the space, but I had no idea that you guys existed until a few months ago when we met at someone's house at a JPM related party. And I believe that Kat's business partner, Leslie, was having a long conversation with you about family history and all kinds of things. And that's how we got to know you and brought you into the scene. Yeah.
Yes.
Now he's an interesting person on the talk show. So, okay. So you did a lot of stuff. So what was the inspiration to start up KeyCare?
So COVID was absolutely the triggering point, right? Because what did COVID do? One, all of a sudden, people were used to using telehealth. Patients felt more comfortable with it. Doctors felt more comfortable with it. The world felt more comfortable with it. And two, insurance companies started paying for it. And those two things combined on top of the access issues that we're having as a nation. And the truth is, I, because of my history, right, I'm someone who is a physician, who worked at a health system, who implemented Epic, who built another company called HealthFinch that was one of the first apps on Epic's App Orchard, who had a long, close relationship with folks at Epic. And all of this combined, and we're sitting there in the midst of COVID with major access issues, the ability to do telehealth, but people's trying to recognize that the traditional, what I call telehealth 1.0, was very transactional, siloed care. And as a primary care doc, I know the value of having access to past history, about sharing the care amongst the team, and just sort of recognizing, hey, Epic is being used by 60+% of all health systems. Why not take advantage of the fact that it's being used? They had developed telehealth software, which 10 years ago they didn't have. Right. And it made sense. Why don't we work on an EMR that is sort of the main EMR out there, who now has telehealth software, and bring it all together, and try and help health systems move access. I'm a health system guy. It's where patients go for their care. Right. So let's give them an option that feels more coordinated.
Yeah, I mean, you said that payers we're paying for this. Of course, we are now in a new paradigm of the just kidding. We are going to totally change telehealth rules because we've solved all of our access problems and everything is great and everyone can immediately go in person and get care right away, no delay. That's not true. Just to be clear. I think like, what are you thinking? What is your yeah, what are you thinking about the changes to Medicare and other payers' plans around telehealth?
So a couple of thoughts. One is people saying, "Oh, we're seeing less telehealth being done. Patients don't want it anymore." That's BS.
Yeah, no, sorry, like absolutely not.
That is, doctors don't want to do telehealth, right? They're
Right.
officeologists,
Right.
right? And they love the office, and everything is optimized for them to see patients in the office. I get it, and that's okay. But we also now are seeing this group of what we'll call virtualists, right? And virtual care is own specialty, sort of like hospital care, hospitalists, etc. Patients, every survey shows they really want to do more virtual care, particularly for what we'll call the routine issues. So that's chunk number one: is the demand out there? Yes. Number two is what's going on with payment reform, etc. We know the end of March, they've got to the Medicare extension flexibility laws need to be re-upped. A lot of people, some people are stressing about it. I'm not. It is one of the most clear bipartisan support initiatives out there. It saves money. It's got a patient support, and it just makes sense. The issue is everything going on. How do they sort of squeeze it in? I do think because it's got bipartisan support, because it actually does save money, that we will see it at the very least extended another 6, 9, 12 months, maybe 2 years, but eventually permanent. I wouldn't be surprised if they lower the payment for telehealth versus office-based care, but I think at some point it's got to be made permanent. It's 10, 15% of all healthcare. You can't just take it away. And I'm shocked by some health systems saying, we're going to stop telehealth visits after April 1st until we have confirmation that this is being done. Patients are not going to be happy. Care is going to be worse because of it. It's really a shame. So I feel confident we'll continue to get there. Even if we didn't for some reason with Medicare, I think commercial payers have proven to themselves that it's cost effective, but I still absolutely believe that legislation will be passed.
What about in Medicare, telehealth is often connected to this idea, this amorphous idea of fraud, waste, and abuse, which is a real thing, of course, and there are lots of successful Medicare fraudsters out there. And of course, the fraud, waste, and abuse aspect is something that DOJ is taking aim at. So, like, what do you think about the fraud, waste, and abuse component? I don't think that's what's happening in what you're talking about at all, but just the broader impacts of that on the industry for you all.
It's like they're always bad players, whether it is in office or virtual, etc. And so there are a couple of bad actors in the virtual care space, right, who are illegally sort of pushing medical devices or compounded medicines, etc. And absolutely go after them. Let's take care of them just like you would in the office. It is, I don't think, any worse necessarily in virtual care than office-based. A fraudster's a fraudster. They'll figure it out. But you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. And that would be, but that is, I actually think it might be even easier to go after some of these guys just because the blip on the screen will be so obvious for them.
Yeah. So building on Epic, I think I initially met you before this great party at JPM that I was not at. Sad for me. At Epic's UGM. Remember, we were walking around and we met Lyle, and we were like, "Oh, hey, bro," and then you were like, "Whatever, we don't even know you." So, so talk to us about the decision to. I mean, because that seems like you're proud of that, and that's something that you think is cool. And it sounds like it also makes sure you're connected in with the rest of the care continuum, which is a criticism we hear often of telehealth companies. So talk about that.
Yeah. Number one, I'm a fan of what Epic has done, right? They've built a very robust, widely used system. I mean, it is sort of the operating system of healthcare, sort of like Microsoft, right? Everyone's using it. And what they've also done is built extensive interoperability so that patients seen at one Epic site, their information is fully available in other Epic sites. So by us using Epic, I have access to all this past information at other sites, and anything I do is going to be pushed into any other Epic site where that patient is. And that level of data interoperability is profound and unlike any other EMR. But they've also created workflow interoperability where we can pass scheduling requests, messaging, etc., and really support other health systems that way. And the truth is, in the telehealth 1.0 companies, what I've seen is they spend a ton of money on technology that isn't even a real EMR, right? A lot of these companies, none of them have meaningful use EMRs. They aren't set up for longitudinal care. They're set up for one-off transactional care, and that's just not good medicine from my perspective. And they also spend a ton of money on marketing because they want to be the front door. You hear them talk about, hey, we want to be the first person you go to. I'm a health system guy. Health systems are where you should go to first.
Starts with a
Our
T,
job is to help them.
ends with a dog.
So you get the idea. I am here to provide access to great care online in coordination with our health systems, but also help health systems rethink how they manage a population. Because my philosophy is, hey, health system, you do a lot of amazing stuff, but no one goes to you because you can treat a cold or a rash or do a refill better or quicker than anyone else. They go to you because you take care of heart attacks and broken bones and brain surgery, etc. But for all the bottom of the pyramid stuff, what I call the triple R threat: routine, repeatable, rules-based care. Routine, repeatable, rules-based care. Let's shift that low value stuff. Let's shift that to an online partner who can do that at scale using AI automation, online care, make it easy for patients to get the easy stuff. And when they need to take care of the complex stuff, make it easier for them to get into the offices by clearing out the routine stuff. So ultimately, initially it's all about just expanding access for day-to-day care. Ultimately, it's about helping health systems rethink and transform how they manage a population.
In that population in the community, right? I think that all makes a lot of sense. And also I wonder about so first and foremost, like the premise of telehealth obviously should be referencing and using and being part of the data ecosystem for that patient, for that provider, for that population. Totally makes sense to me. Of course, Epic and any health system on its own doesn't have all the data. Do you guys think about that, or is that kind of like a problem for Epic to solve with its trading partners?
So, one, when patients go to a health system, they usually do majority of their care there. But if they are doing it elsewhere, right? Epic and we are part of the care. Care Everywhere is Epic's own interoperability. But care quality and TEFCA, et cetera, these are national standards that we're part of as well that we can trade. And listen, healthcare is not perfect. It's messy. We do our best. And at this point, I feel really good.
Like, let me just get some real data in there.
And the truth is, the type of health systems using Epic, usually patients are doing the majority of the care there, particularly the complex stuff. So I feel, you gotta compared to nothing, we're significantly better. Is it perfect? No, it's never perfect. But even in my primary care office, when someone walked in the door, I dealt with what I had to deal with, and I tried to keep their care within the health system so I could access everything. If they went outside, I'd pull what I can in.
Do you mentioned like virtualists sort of becoming a thing, and I understand that. Do you think that it will actually become a thing, like hospitalist is a thing now? Is it becoming sort of a subspecialty specialty?
So it's a thing. Will it become a true name subspecialty? I don't know. It took a while for hospitalists to do that, but I can guarantee you there are a lot of doctors out there who want to be, full time or at least very, significant amount of their time virtualists. We see a lot of moms. We see a lot of people who just want flexibility in their lives. They're sick of working for the man, and they want to be able to have more options to choose from and flexibility in their lives to do the care, take care of their kids, see patients, take care of their kids again, see patients in a way that makes sense for them.
Yeah. So what's next for you? And what do you think KeyCare is going to be in 2 years? I mean, things are crazy.
So
what's going to happen?
So we do urgent care now. We're expanding the primary care. So I'm really excited. Urgent care is on-demand urgent care. Everybody wants it. We're getting better at it. We're throwing a lot of technology to smooth out the experience. But at the same time, we're building up a cadre of primary care doctors to help support the primary care docs in the office. Very much a team-based approach. A lot of what I talk about, population health, team-based care, online care, these are not new ideas. But I feel we can execute on better because insurance is paying for it. Culturally, people are ready for it. And because we're on a system that coordinates everything, all those things come into play to make it possible. And so my goal is to be able to go to primary care doctors in the office and say, look, we're going to give you an online team to help you manage your population, increase your panel size, right? But improve the level of care and decrease how many patients you have to see in the office while increase the number of patients you take care of overall. We do that, we start solving access issues for patients, burnout issues, and quality issues all together. So that's, to me, what gets me really excited about actually starting to solve a lot of the big issues we have in healthcare in a way that's realistic.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Melissa's giving us the hook, but what are the final sort of words you want to leave our loyal fans, the all 5 of them who are watching today, minus one who's here in the room?
So yeah, one of the mantras I've always had in my career is we don't have a shortage of physicians, we have a shortage of using them efficiently.
Yeah.
We can solve healthcare, we can do a much better job. Every time we hear people saying, oh, we don't have enough docs, blah, blah, it's because we get stuck in saying we have to do things the same way. We've got to start rethinking how we manage populations. It's not rocket science, but it is going to take a variety of how do we pay doctors, how do we use online care, and how do we make sure everything's coordinated. All these things are going to come together. If we do it right, we actually could start solving some of the big issues that we have.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, thank you, ladies.
We have another doctor, less practicing.
Yes.
Well, he's an ED doc. They're crazy.
They are crazy,
All right.
and he's
Thank
queued
you,
up.
Lyle.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Pass your mic off to the next.
Yeah, here's the situation. We got Dr. Donald Rucker, former national coordinator, current chief strategy officer of One Up Health, friend of the show, interesting person who comes to all of our interesting person parties, even if he's late, no big deal. Maybe a big deal. And also,
Hey, I've been waiting here.
are you a practicing ED doc or for you practicing ED doc?
I said less practicing, but
I
that
don't
was a
know.
little bit of a
I didn't,
slight-
yeah, no, I,
Don, so like shit is crazy. What is happening?
yeah.
Like,
Well,
is Tefka dead?
we'll
Inquiring
see.
minds want to know.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think the innate challenges of TEFCA are starting to people are starting to appreciate them, right? I mean, what are those challenges? You can't really compute on the data. The quote unquote fire roadmap makes no technical sense because it is something that I mean, it just goes against every understanding of modern digital technology in the rest of the world.
As we have heard.
You heard it first here.
Yeah. And
As
then
we
I
have
think,
heard on this
there's the
show.
Interesting question. It actually doesn't protect privacy at all.
We're gonna move this to the other
Yeah.
side.
Yeah, I feel like you
Okay.
need to.
We're gonna just
All
because
right,
we need
okay.
our loyal fans to hear all this action.
All right.
That's right.
So, I mean, one of the
work.
challenges with TEFCA, to the extent it's real, is you don't,
To the extent
you
it's
know,
real.
everybody worries about the
So
privacy of the payload, right, of the medical record being shared. People worry about that. And, that's wrapped up in all of these permitted uses, sort of faux HIPAA language. We'll pretend we have a legal
Faux HIPAA. Jesus Christ, how
Faux
many
HIPAA.
sound bites have we gotten so far?
Yeah.
A lot. Keep going.
Yeah,
I like I
right.
like faux HIPAA
So
personally.
we'll use HIPAA-like words to
Treatment, payment,
obscure
operations.
the fact that it is in fact not permitted under current rulemaking, right? Current HIPAA privacy rule, which has been around since forever, says either the patient gives you permission or you have a signed covered entity business
right.
associate agreement. There's anything different, like some network where everybody gets the data, is something would need notice of public rulemaking. So it is actually a breach, I think, right now as we speak. So, I guess that'll get sorted out.
Don, are you telling us TEFCA is illegal?
I'm telling you, the ability to share data in TEFCA does not appear to conform with the HIPAA privacy rule.
Huh. That is a
You heard
problem.
it first here, America.
So, I mean,
That is a problem.
Actually, you heard it in all of Don's
You heard it in
Yeah.
every single
Get-
time
get
Don
your-
opens
get-
his mouth.
get
This
your-
is a new perspective.
Get your own lawyer, but you could ask your lawyer, for example.
Not a lawyer and
Um,
not your lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. Not a lawyer.
And
um,
also, everyone, allegedly. Put allegedly on all of this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. but just
We don't have that
ask,
much insurance.
are they under what provision? So TPO is for covered entities and business associates
Right.
who have signed agreements. It is not for anybody who says we're doing treatment or we're doing payments or operations. The privacy issues are actually very interesting. So
So good.
if you look at the privacy, everybody focuses on the payload, right? So we put this patient's record from here, point A to point B. But the real privacy is in the quote unquote record location service discovery, which people sort of, and computationally, there's two ways.
Like metadata about where somebody is
Yeah,
and what
yeah,
they
right.
did,
But,
right?
but just barely metadata, more like data.
Okay, okay,
right.
okay.
It's at the precipice.
The edge of metadata.
At the edge of meta.
So good.
Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg. At the edge, it has nothing to do with him. Right. So think about it. There are really two ways. There's sort of the claim that, oh, we'll know where the patient was treated, right? It's a quote single point of contact. Problem with that is, so how do you know that? And of course, what you want are recent patient visits. That somebody saw me 10 years ago and tried to do a brain transplant unsuccessfully. That's not that interesting. What's interesting?
No, it's interesting. No,
What's
it's interesting. No, it's interesting.
Okay, it is interesting. Whatever.
I understand why it wouldn't be interesting for you.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's all self-referential. But think about it. So there are basically two ways to figure out whether somebody has been seen. Either each EHR node, subnode, super subnode, whatever. I don't think that stuff has been built out, as far as I can tell. Reports, let's say every day, I saw blah, blah, blah. Or you do a query of some form to everybody that you have some reason to believe might have seen the patient. Now, you can limit that. You don't have to query every EHR in the country for every patient. You could sort of say, well, we think they're in, Oklahoma or Nevada or wherever. Both of those are, but you do also have to give information about the practice, obviously by definition, and information about who asked. And both of those are massively privacy invading, because think of this. If I report in my HIV clinic, my Planned Parenthood center, my behavioral health center, my sexually transmitted disease center, that I've seen someone, you don't need to be a real rocket scientist to figure out this person probably has something that has a stigma, has it, right? And then you can, of course, go look. Conversely, if I get a query from the abortion clinic or the behavioral health center or the electroconvulsive therapy center or wherever, have you seen this person? Like what HIV meds are they on? So the very nature of the record location services is massively privacy invading, far more than just the payload. And when you combine that with the fact that TEFCA is a weakest link activity. In the modern digital world, what people talk about is zero trust. So what zero trust is I think everybody who comes in is bad, and you prove to me that you're not bad. When you do your link, you prove to me you have permission.
So
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of common.
Everyone's trying to scam me.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's common sense, right? We all get like scam emails every day that somehow have worked.
no one's looking out for you but you.
Yeah, worked their way through the spam filters, and that's a world of zero trust, and that's what modern, digital technology is. That's what your bank is. That's what your airline is.
Right.
That's what anybody is. Your streaming service. Kafka works on the totally different principle, which is just trust me. I'm good because I said I'm good, and just trust me. Now, sure, most of the people are probably good. However, you only need one evil person, one evil link, because they have essentially complete access. And if you think the attestation and we know this from just the last couple of years.
The attestation to trust me because I am
Yeah,
doing
that-
good stuff.
That I'm quote doing treatment or something. So so the entire
didn't work.
So the entire technical premise of this, from a trust principle, doesn't make sense. When you look at all those things, it's only a matter of time, right? It's how much national energy are we going to spend on this? And again, I know that, for example, one of the TEFCA proponents yesterday said to me, "Well, you can't just, you need just one-stop shopping, right?"
Was this at my party or was this at one of
No,
the pre-conference
This
sessions?
is one of the pre-conferences.
Okay,
You're not
everybody
responsible.
knows those were not real.
Yeah, well, whatever.
People were
Yeah.
people still think they're in the Biden administration. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
Everybody, everything that everyone said was not real yesterday.
This is Pat's
Yeah.
opinion,
What?
Yeah.
including me.
Well, this one is at a.
You were just
I said
moderating.
some real
I
things.
think this was at a pre-conference. I'm not going to say whether Lisa gave 2 sessions there or not.
I did
I'm not.
not.
I'm not going to say anything about that. We'll let the
You
inquiry.
cannot imagine that I would have said something incredibly
I'm pretty
complimentary
sure
about the TEFCA.
I'm pretty sure you didn't, but it's worth. So one of the points
Wait,
is
actually, let me stop you. There was a really funny comment, amazing comment in the session where someone said, without the T, it's just FCA.
yes. Well,
Lost my mind. That was
Yeah.
so incredible.
well,
So
it's yeah.
So good.
There's obviously
Okay, what did this
all kinds
person
of
tell you, Don?
layers.
And were they full of shit?
Well, I think one of the interesting things again is the claim that it's all single shopping, right? Single point, right? The magical easy button. You go to Staples, you get the easy button. And then this is followed closely with everybody can't do point to point, as if there were no way to facilitate point to point. Well, people actually do point to point. It's called the internet.
You heard it first here, America.
So anybody who tells you can't do point to
Doing
point,
no interviewing. This is great.
yeah,
Because we were overserved last
Yeah,
night,
yeah.
Don.
you
tired.
overserved.
We're
Don't
tired,
pretend you're
everyone.
not guilty.
We're tired. We're
Don't
just
don't,
tired.
don't
In the South, we say overserved.
well, that's an interesting moral challenge. We'll leave that, as I used to say in high school math class, as an exercise for the reader, viewer. But at any rate, point to point, right? You have directory services. They should be public directory services, not hidden. And we have search in all kinds of ways, but most of the search is actually known, right? If I'm a payer or a provider, let's just start with those basic cases. I know who's paid for me, right? I mean, or who's paying me, right? I've done an eligibility check. I have all of that information. So the claim that this is unknown is, not borne out in reality. For patients, why shouldn't patients control their data and their access, right? I mean, this is a modern principle of humanity, that we are building this elaborate thing to strip this away with essentially no governance. As folks know, I'm a fan of HIEs because they actually have very robust public-private
too.
governance. They compartmentalize failure
This is an
modes.
opinion that I am willing
Yes.
to put out there with my
Yeah.
name on it.
Yeah. Well, surprise. But it's worth the compare and contrast. So, at any rate, the other thing, TEFCA.
No, I have a real serious question
Yeah.
for you. Why didn't this end back in the day in the prior administration? What were the opportunities to not be where we are today that you could have done something about?
Yeah, people ask me that. So the challenge that we had. So I mean,
Because you point out really
so truth be
really
told,
important trust
so-
and technical things that are
just
issues.
for the viewers.
Readers'
I
fears.
basically thought the premise of TEFCA and the Cures Act made no particular sense, right? The thought that healthcare is going to reinvent the modern internet didn't strike me as job number one. So we focused obviously on the APIs and getting patients in control of their data getting it out from, the sort of legacy holders. And then, we had to issue a contract just because it was the law. Had I been immediately in a next Trump administration, I would have not signed off on any of this nonsense technically. I mean, the other thing that, of course, is sort of going on behind the scenes here is we still have to figure out how to get and compute on clinical data with modern APIs and modern platforms. So, that's the one-up pitch. But there's a whole world, and that world of needing to be smart, not dumb, but smart about clinical care is going to be accentuated by the spend in Medicare Advantage.
Totally.
It's going to be facilitated by FHIR. We're moving away. I mean, your previous speaker, obviously, God bless his soul, comes from the legacy EHR world. But realistically, and of course, the payer world has revenue.
No, everybody's catching strays.
Yeah,
everybody's catching strays.
But realistically, a modern world of clinical computing is a world with modern digital platforms and digital enablement. And that's what we're really trying to get here to. All these other things are sort of roadblocks to having a truly efficient healthcare system, not a fake efficient healthcare system.
I like it.
Well, we're out of time, but I'm very excited that we might see some things change soon.
I do believe there will be things changing.
I think things will change.
All right.
We are excited. All right.
See you guys.
Don.
Take care. Enjoy, everybody. Have a good day.
Dr. Donald
Bye.
Rucker, very much repeat guest of the show. Oh my gosh. So we got another guy here. We're gonna maybe not talk about the tough guy for a
No, we don't have
second.
to talk about tough guy.
No, put it on the inside.
Oh,
Yeah, over
inside.
there. Put it over there because he's
All right.
gonna lead
Thank
the app.
you.
All right,
I
this
thought I
guy.
was born at Beth Israel, by the way.
Oh,
I don't know when you worked there, but you might have been in the building.
OMG.
Oh, I beat you. I was born before that. Thank goodness. I was worried
my
for
God.
a minute.
Okay.
Don Rucker.
Don,
delivered
Dr.
Jaffer.
Donald
Of
Rucker.
course, my worry is when I hear that is, the statute of limitation on birth
That's
defects
right.
goes a long time.
Loyal
I
fans.
appreciate it,
Don will be back
See you,
later.
Don.
Don will be back.
Jesus Christ.
We are sure.
You know, I that was a nice little break for us.
Hey. Beth Israel, man. That's going way back.
Yeah.
I have not slept very much, so it's
Understood.
great to have a
Well,
guest.
it was
That's
good
what I
to
was
see you last
Yes,
night.
Every
I
single
guess
one
who
of our
runs the-
guests was at the Interesting Person
That's
party.
great.
So
First question I have for you guys is, I know it's supposed to go the other way. Is
Great,
Steve
no, that's
is
great.
Steve Posnack actually appointed interim?
So he was officially.
Official.
I think that someone realized that it was illegal to not have
Someone?
and they were like, "Yeah, no, it actually is. It was a
the laws don't matter
no,
anymore.
but I think they were like, we should just do this because it is the law
In name, yeah.
is
So
the
we'll see. No one's
law.
actually called him yet
Yeah,
to
yeah.
figure out what he's
No.
doing.
I
Fair
think he's been acting as if, and he also now is the real acting.
enough. Real
But you
acting.
know, inquire. Like I think we all feel pretty confident at this point that AST. Look, he's got some notes.
Absolutely, absolutely. We should make sure Steve is okay. That's just my
Yeah.
firthink
I
thought.
mean,
So-
He's doing okay.
Yeah,
All
Steve,
right.
like send us whatever. Just
Yeah.
like give us a signal of some kind. Like we just need to know you're. I think he's good.
I
I
hope
think
so.
he's doing all right.
So you need to introduce yourself to the
Oh,
fans,
okay. I'm
Jaffer.
Jaffer Traisch. I am the Chief Operating Officer of findhelp, social care network and software company across the U.S. and really excited about lifting people up and helping people rise above basic needs in this country.
Awesome. And just a little bit of promo here as well. One of the newer members of Civitas Networks for Health, where I am the CEO, as you know, Kat.
This is a separate company, so if anyone does want to sue us, these are our own opinions.
Yeah. Again, allegedly.
Can we just say Aneesh is in the building?
Yeah,
Anish
Can we
is
just-
here. Oh my gosh.
Melissa's
Oh my
been doing
gosh.
an amazing job.
Anish.
picking up all of our guests.
Were you overserved last night as well?
Just not.
He said no comment, just for the record. Yeah.
Okay.
So
okay.
let's talk
Okay,
Doge.
okay,
Is it pronounced Doge, Doge,
It's the
Doge?
Doge.
Okay.
Yeah.
So look, a wise person told me when I joined this organization, if you're going to succeed, accept reality.
Oh.
And I think that was an
I like
important
this.
lesson.
Good vibes.
And so, look, everybody's worried about Medicaid. Everybody's wondering what's going to happen with Medicaid. What's going to be cut, what's not.
Yep.
Everything's swirling. Well, let's think about what happened in the past Trump administration. They believed that work requirements were an important thing. You can argue on the political spectrum, yes, no. what's reality. But there were 20 states that put forward proposals. 13 states were accepted at the time. Arkansas was one of them. They didn't factor in what the impact would be, and about 18,000 people were disenrolled.
Yeah.
Well, if we're accepting reality, we know that this is going to come back around for Medicaid this time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what do we think is going to happen? Well, I think there's going to be a lot of states that are going to put forward new proposals. I think we're probably going to see some, accepted. And how do we learn the lesson and still support people that are enrollees? I think this time around, states like Arkansas are deciding, you know what, let's not remove people's eligibility, but let's make sure that we are tracking people's training, people's access to remove barriers to get them to work. What are the requirements? Can we lengthen the time period to 3 or 4 months to satisfy some of those requirements? So I think while everyone,
but also like understand that many people are also caring for other people, and
Of
they have
course.
caregiving roles that are not optional,
of
or
course.
whatever, or
And
they're
so-
in school or
yeah,
whatever it is.
Yeah. So look, when I was young, 15, I did rallies and put my hand up and said, no, no, no. And I think what I've learned over X number of
too.
years, is let's actually go help educate the people making the rules and see if we can make new policies like this that we know are going to happen more effective. And so let's get some skin in the game. So I think something we have to pay attention to is how do we make things like work requirements potentially work? And if cost is such a barrier, look, you know how HIEs have infrastructure to support some of this work. MCOs have tons of infrastructure to support referrals to community-based, supports, meaning what can we take advantage of that's already in the system?
Increasing growth of CIEs, referral networks. all of those.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
in a way that still supports training, volunteering, tracking if someone is working. A large portion of the workforce, now does, kind of the, gig economy, type work. So we have to be a little bit more creative to make this stuff work. So that was the first thought I had, and I don't hear anybody talking about that.
I love that you have thoughts and came to the talk show with thoughts. I'm into
You're
that.
the only
No,
one. Our brains are empty.
yeah,
like,
right now we
nothing
just
else.
show up. We just show up. No, okay, but I do love that you're talking about existing in the real world, right? Like not hoping that
Wake up.
things aren't going to change, because
Right.
like we were just trash talking a little. A lot of the sessions yesterday were focused, like people were talking like it was still the Biden administration, right? Like
Right.
that the
Things
world is
have
not
changed.
changing. But to that point, I love how you're talking about how do we still do good stuff within this new framework. Are you worried at all about some of the potential waiver cancellations and things that actually support your business?
Well, yes, and that's another example of I think we have to accept reality. So let's look at how many waivers were pushed through at the very end of the last administration. You can argue right or wrong, but let's look at the Healthy Opportunities pilot in North Carolina. Everybody's heard of it. Everybody wants to make sure that we can fund services. $2 billion just for services were approved to try to expand the work in North Carolina. Most people would say, yes, let's help people get access to those needs. But something also was added, $299 million for infrastructure. I don't know what $299 million for infrastructure
I'll take some of that.
is. Well, I'm sure a lot of hands will go up. And that's the point. The two US senators, Tillis and Budd, 2024, wrote a letter to Secretary Becerra themselves and said,
What is this?
13,000 people were helped, and that was $1,000 more than the cost of Medicaid just to implement this program. And I think the quote was, in light of the issues, we urge the department to thoroughly review the performance and take immediate action to address the deficiencies and costs. How can we justify as a collective? Again, I'm not saying waivers are bad or waivers are good. If we're going to spend the money, we need to be better at how we're going to spend it.
Yeah.
That I think is the
Yeah.
bottom line.
Well, I mean, and maybe you put something in there that's a little bit fluffy, so it can be cut, and then the core part is going to stick around potentially. Potentially.
So
Or
you're
it'll
saying
get
there's
that.
games being played in some of this? Sure.
But I
Yeah.
agree, right? I think a lot of us, and I'm sure that our next guest is going to agree that
We
the
never know what he's gonna
ideas
do.
behind Doge are not fundamentally wrong. Maybe the way it's being carried out and what it looks like and the impact on people and the economy, not so great. But like the idea that there is fluff and we should not pay 2 times, 3 times, 4 times the same thing, or we should have
Yeah.
massively inflated prices or costs for contracts. Sure.
Yeah, look, there's a ton of people at this conference that are VCs, private equity, other investors. Their incentives are not the incentives of the taxpayer.
Right.
And, Kansas wanted to build $10 million worth of childcare facilities to help people have a place for their children to go so they can work and be prosperous. And at the last second, the language was changed. 7.7 million went to a vendor instead of building childcare facilities. If you're a taxpayer,
Really?
you're pretty infuriated
That's
by
a load
that.
of bullshit. Which vendor?
I'm not naming
Let's go
names,
get
you know, in this conversation.
I could probably guess.
But it happens again and again and again. And I think, again, I'm here with the taxpayer hat on. And if Aneesh may or may not agree, but the
He's his
bottom
own
line,
man. He's his own man. We don't know what he's gonna do. We never
we
know.
have no
We don't
idea.
know, we don't know.
But
He
the
doesn't have
bottom line
notes.
is, I do think we have to wake up and play a larger role in understanding how the monies are going to be spent. And there's loophole after loophole. And it's our job to be judicious. And by saying I mean vendors. We can't just go out there to say the bottom line is a growth rate of 200%. The bottom line is being a steward of the dollars. And if they come from government and taxpayers, we have an even greater obligation, to be a better steward. So I challenge my fellow vendor colleagues to, not grow just for the sake of growth.
You said something I think that's just really, we should just like underline, which is that like the incentives of of VCs and private sector is not the same as what the taxpayers are going to care about at the end of the day. It's really important.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they're powerful, and they all have 30 lobbyists in 30 states, and they all know, how to work the system. So at
And
the end
that's
of the
just
day,
Kat. That's
That's
just
just me.
that's just you,
That's
right?
just
That's
me.
just your lobbyist. So no, but I
she's
think,
she's the 30
I mean,
but I think some of the work you're doing,
to be clear, America, I am not a lobbyist, nor do I have any intention to ever become a lobbyist.
allegedly.
Disclaimer.
no,
keep
but you know
going.
what? I do see coalitions as being a good part of the solution here, meaning the Civitas Coalition, the Southern LA Coalition, the Gravity, work group coalitions. There's so many out there, and collectively they can align on principles, not just on privacy, but also on stewardship of information, on how dollars should be spent, and make your voices heard. Actually write comment letters to CMS, put some skin in the game of what you want to see happen. And I was glad to see a lot of folks in some of the waiver states before their comments on how to better spend the money.
But you make an important point though too, so you guys, and this is not an ad for Civitas, but you guys, join Civitas and you are part of other coalitions. It's only as good as what you put into it as well, right? Just figuring out how you show up, any of these coalitions or work you're doing, you decide what's the right role for us, what's the right voice for us as a vendor, as a technology provider, and a lot of companies don't know how to engage. They don't know how to get involved, what they should say. They might sign on to a toothless letter about something.
Stop writing letters.
Yeah.
Stop writing
No, look,
letters. Do something.
Do stuff.
I'm not trying to, scratch Aneesh's back, but like when
Everybody's trying to.
when he
Scratch
calls
Aneesh's
and he
back.
says, look, I don't care what the government is necessarily doing. Let's just build the interoperability we need and demonstrate it here.
Very Aneesh
The answer is
thing.
yes. The answer is let's just do the work, get enough people to commit to it, show that it's possible, and lead by doing, not lead by talking. And that's, I think, the most important thing.
Okay, so what are you doing that's not talking? What are you doing?
We're doing that's not talking.
Yeah.
Gosh. So we are building webhook interoperability with case management systems that exist in communities to make it easier for nonprofit organizations to raise their hand and say, I don't care what the state's trying to do or mandate, or regardless of what vendors are out there making noise. I have a case management system that works for me. It's secure. It's safe. I respect privacy.
Clinical works.
Send your referrals to me, as an example. And I think it's talking the talk.
eClinical works, unfortunately, is used by a lot of small, under-resourced nonprofits
Yeah.
as their case management system.
But you're working with it.
We're working with
Working
them.
with it.
Absolutely.
You guys-
We're on
but you
stage
have-
with ECW.
They're not
Yeah.
going to implement another system. Like they have no money. for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Work with the little guys, the medium guys, the big guys, and I think that's really important. I think it's also paying attention to reentry programs, behavioral
Yes.
health programs.
Yes.
Melissa Janino is. laughing
That's her
for you.
passion project.
Look, post-acute referrals. People are still faxing, and people are still sitting in hospitals for 5 extra days because they don't understand their patient choice, approach. And, we're still trying to figure out how to quickly place someone into the right facility. We've got plenty of things to just get into the mud and do the work on. That's what I'm excited about this year, is focusing on expanding networks beyond just social care into behavioral health, post-acute, and making the patient experience a more dignified process.
Love it.
Not just milking off the taxpayer dollar.
The private
You hear
sector has
that?
plenty of money.
That's true. That's true.
Oh, that you're singing
I
her song.
I do love making money.
Fair enough. Well,
But
we need
no,
growth.
but I do agree. I agree that VCs, the incentives are different, and it's also not their job to save America. It's their job to make money.
You got it.
So,
You
I
got it.
just want to keep putting that out there. I do not think I'm not a socialist.
Yeah.
Lisa Berry.
I am also not legally a socialist.
Well, you pulled me graciously out of my comfort zone. It's been wonderful having conversations
This was
with
great.
you all.
Okay, give
know.
our loyal fans, all 5 of them, one last thing.
One last thing.
Inspiration.
Join work groups that get real work done, whether it's HL7, Gravity,
He's really
you know,
teeing it up for all Aneesh
fire
here.
work groups, get stuff done this year. Make goals and get it done.
Yay!
Thanks, guys.
Nice work,
I
Jaffer.
appreciate it.
Thank you.
Give your thing to the final boss here, Aneesh. Aneesh, the final
Well
boss.
done, my friend. I agree with you. I
Aneesh,
agree with you
did you
fully.
bring a chaperone?
I did.
Oh my God.
Drew, you want to come on?
I have a handler.
He's like,
Absolutely
I have a handler.
not.
Yeah.
At least
Where's your
show
handler?
your face. Nope, you gotta come. At
Come
least,
on in. Come on in. Come
at
on in.
least show your face.
Please meet my
Aneesh,
man Drew.
Aneesh's chaperone.
See?
yeah,
That's my
also-
man.
Writes us the most emails.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
Writes us the most
Anish
correction requests.
needs a chaperone, and here he is. Thank
Yes.
goodness.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
man.
Anish, what's happening?
That was fun. That was a good discussion.
Yeah, no, he did a great job.
And he's one of the early adopter coalitions of the willing make America great again. I mean, it's a big it's a
Or
the-
great, also.
the Maha executive order could have been written by Barack Obama, Joe Biden.
Anish is reaching across the
Read
aisle.
it. Read the Maha
did read it.
executive order.
I was into it.
Show me one sentence that was like crazy.
Well, she's the socialist.
Okay, for once and for all, for legal and practical reasons, I am a no party preference California registered nobody. I just like you. I have a job and I make money. The end. Once and for
And
all.
she hates paying taxes.
I love paying taxes.
Anish,
All right, let's dive in.
What's actually
Let's
happening?
dive in.
What's
Let's
going
dive
on? Is Tefka dead? Don says it is.
I love Don. And in fact, we were huddling at your party last night.
I saw it. Everyone thought you left, but you in fact were doing business at
Yeah,
10 o'clock
yeah.
at night.
And the way I view this is mend it, don't end it.
Mend it, don't end it.
It is the view I hold. The reality is Tefka is a noun and a verb. And the current noun has, Tefka is a noun and a verb.
We're going to Tefka it.
We're going to Tefka it. And the noun part is the current legal structure and framework and governance. And maybe there's some room for improvement in that area in terms of stakeholder voice and, basically balancing of interests. The verb is the notion that we have people getting onto a network. Let's first with base principles. Before we have network to network connectivity, how about we have people on networks? Right?
Well, why don't you just why make Tefka just say national networks?
No.
National networks.
So at the
Great.
moment, we could have regional networks.
And
that
we do.
connect. Exactly, but we don't all operate in the same technical format. Lisa, here's
We
the test.
could.
Right, here's my TEFCA represents a governance and a technical roadmap.
Cool.
Let's start with the technical roadmap. Today, nearly all interoperable networks use the legacy IHE protocols
Yes.
and CCD-based exchange.
And a lot of that is because their trading partners are not ready.
The word ready is a complicated word because under the current regulatory regime, 300 certified electronic health record products are capable of business-to-business FHIR-based exchange. Now, what does ready mean? They had to deliver to their customers by December of 2022 a working G10 FHIR server. The reason I announced Neighborhood Watch last night is we know that in the real world, there's a gap between a buyer of that technology and its capacity to work.
Maybe you should tell, not everyone was at the forums. You should tell
No,
them what you said.
This is the most important
yeah.
thing. Look, let's just say +1 to everything Jaffer said, right?
I brought notes.
He brought
Well,
notes. He was the only prepared
You don't need
person here.
notes.
It's a call.
Vibes
This
only.
comes from the heart, people. We
ahead.
need to have a call to action. And so in statute, ONC is not only supposed to certify products, but to conduct real world surveillance.
And do they?
And we know that
And
is a
do
function
they?
that has not yet been fully
Yeah.
functional. And so either the government does it, or we launched something in the Obama administration called citizenscience.gov, crowdsourcing. So the question is, why can't we crowdsource the current state of readiness and usability of G10 FHIR servers? And the answer is we can have nice things, Kat.
But
We
what,
can
but
have
what,
nice
but what you're
things.
not saying out loud is that they were required to do this, and most of them did the legal minimum necessary, and it doesn't actually like that. Like that's the
Let me
part you're not
finish the other,
saying.
but let me say
See
the
that part.
positive side. So ONC did not require performance standards.
Right.
So it is conceivable one could be technically compliant under the regs, but functionally non-compliant in terms
I
of
lived
performance.
through meaningful use.
Right. Now here's the best part.
I was a
So-
PR girl then. Wasn't important.
Look, at Care Journey, we were researchers. We were looking at provider level data, so we weren't touching as much PHI. With our merger with Arcadia, I walked into a plentiful, abundant world of data sharing. And what I've learned,
was good,
right?
Getting some snaps.
no, and I'm grateful the leadership believed in this notion that we're going to move the technical architecture to Fire. And we have a Skunkworks team, and we've got an open source Fire client. We're fully collaborating with our AWS partners and blah, blah, blah. And we've begun knocking on the G10 door. And that is some rickety sticks there.
It's not nice stuff.
But here's the best part. When people learn that their physician customers were expecting a product they've paid for to work.
Weird.
What?
Weird.
Weird.
Boy, do we get
And that we've paid for as
the
Americans.
first two that we launched this a few weeks ago. The first two, what was amazing was the developers were like, whoa. And these are long tail EHRs. These are not the big boys and girls. They're like, whoa, I promised to fix this. There was a mistake in the code that you've got. So we're going to ship a patch to see if we could work. So in the time when I got the sad womp womp, it doesn't work, to a few weeks later, it is a functioning Fire server.
Cool.
And
That's
so the
good
point
news.
about this is that I thought, okay, wait a minute. We should be doing this at scale. And why should just one company kind of be the surveillance arm? We have friends and allies in the ecosystem.
Yep.
So let's crowdsource. There's 300 certified products. We nailed a few in our surveillance. Let's go through, because the reality is we're off of the client server architecture. Everything's cloud-based. So the G10 Fire servers, you fix it once at one facility,
Right.
it's going to basically
Right.
be a fix for
Right.
the country.
Mm.
So the good news is at the moment, I've had 4 or 5 other friends and allies. I work with ACOs who have a business interest in actually connecting the data.
They actually need
Surprise,
the data
surprise!
for
They
real.
want to
Like,
actually
they're
help patients get better
motivated
care. What is that?
financially and practically motivated to get.
Yeah,
the
we
actual data.
alignment of interests. So by activating ACOs into the neighborhood watch, I think in the next 6 months, we're gonna have the majority of lives in a real world surveillance environment. And the key question is gonna be, with whom shall we share this feedback? What's the last mile handshake? And I have high confidence, whatever the new ONC will be there ready
Notice
and
that
willing.
he said new ONC.
The new ONC.
The new
Not,
ONC.
he did not say ASDB.
I
Well-
don't think ASTP that's not, we're not breaking news that
Yeah, that-
ASTP.
yeah, this is-
ran-
we have been
yeah,
very much trying to
Yeah.
share that news
yeah,
for
Yeah.
many weeks
yeah,
now.
it's fine, but that's okay.
It's fine.
But when you have someone as talented as Mickey Tripathi and you want to honor the talent that he is, then you build around the talent. That's like what Steph Curry brings to the Warriors. And so if you've got a Steph Curry, you build around. If they get a Steph Curry to be a Mickey replacement, they'll build around. And if
Yeah.
they get it, and well, there you go. You could bring, so then so look, it comes down to who they pick. And the reality is this is a signal that they may just pick up like a good, solid, infield, whatever you
Yeah.
want to call that person.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's in theory land. What would you do if you were the national coordinator?
So I would do 3 things. Number 1, I would, in the spirit of Doge, I would revisit core assumptions around certification. At the time, we had to define a certified EHR. Everyone was like, well, I got a practice management system. I have a document retrieval system. Like, what is a world functioning EHR? Well, you got to e-prescribe, you got to do decision support. I think at this point, the industry's figured that out. It's no longer a market failure as to what an EHR is. In fact, it may be the opposite. We're over specifying, so we're weakening our capacity to leverage health IT for greater good. So
I agree.
in the market
Yeah.
failure
Deregulate.
world, so we would deregulate the
Love
core
it.
of cert, but we double down on API standards so that the modules can speak with one another. So say I don't like my particular e-prescribing vendor, and I want to swap out one that is better for me. Maybe it's going to give me access to the cash price in addition to the benefits price, and I want to see all that given to my patients. So now I can swap out a prescribing module that works for me, and it should be able to interoperate. because it's a common set of protocols to bring them in and out. So this is very achievable. And then in addition to that, you kind of add performance standards. So the trade is I'll massively simplify the certification program, but I'll double down on a framework of all modular applications, connect your APIs, it will standardize over time. And we want SLAs so that these things are supposed to perform. We don't need to
Love it.
So that's sort of like big idea.
Okay, I
one.
agree with number one.
Okay, 100%. We are on board.
Same
Yes.
page. One
Number
today,
two, hug CMMI more tightly. And the reason is
Why are we hugging them?
we got to hug them because you don't want to, what's that expression? Pave the cow path. What you don't want to do, isn't that the expression?
I know what you're saying. I have never heard that before.
Well, the idea is if you bring a new technology in, right? If you bring a new technology in, you don't just layer it on top of the old infrastructure.
Okay,
So
sure.
a truly aligned and person-centered healthcare system beats the fragmented, disconnected system that we have. So if we build from the assumption that we want to have a fully coordinated system, at the moment, our competitive market, we live in a private market. Kat, you're in on the private.
You know I love it.
You're down with private markets?
100%.
So if there's a market incentive to organize the care, then you want to run to the happiness where there's an economic aligned incentive. So that's value-based care. CMMI is nothing but aligning payers and providers towards goodness. So they're a small demand signal in this sea smorgasbord of HIMSS. There's not like a mega network of value-based care aligned interests going into each of the booths to say, and what can you do for my coordinated care use case?
Yeah.
Because they're just hearing, I need to get my fee-for-service optimized. So we got to get the demand signal. I want to put a thumb on the scale of the demand signal that is softer today, but is what we need for the future. So item
I'm
two.
down. So you
is-
you want to really innovate, not just like we've got this
Yeah,
little
well, you
shitty
just
thing
want to
and-
have a much clearer demand signal.
Yeah.
And it'll do Jaffer's work about integrating social behavioral, and we want to make these systems connect even to the workforce systems. So part of the Arkansas failure on workforce is that Arkansas, you had to like click through 15 portals and they timed out. And so it's not like evil that you want to ask about, are you looking for a job? By the way, I recall, silly me, Democrats wanted to help people with training and workforce support. And do you need help getting a job?
I think that's
Do you
what
want
they
to
said.
upskill the
Yeah.
workforce? Gee, funny me, Arkansas loved all that. And like they called it a workforce requirement. It was a job upskilling program.
Yeah.
They said, hey, we could get you involved in community colleges.
Messaging.
Yeah, just hello, people.
But
We're within the 40-yard line.
But because of the way procurement happens, as you know, you just get these 15
I understand.
impossible
It's solvable.
ancient portals.
Lisa, solvable. We can solve it.
I mean, it needs to be
Aneesh is
text-based
gonna
or
solve it.
nothing.
No.
Text-based or nothing.
And then last,
Yeah.
but certainly not least, we have to finish the job we started, which is to converge the CMS standards group and ONC. So we don't have a HIPAA
That's
EDI
what I'm talking
standards,
about.
and we
We've
don't have
also
an
talked about
ONC
that
fire
here.
standards. We need to have one open platform
Yeah.
for all the administrative transactions and all of the clinical services.
What does
'cause the
that
line
look
is
like
there.
in reality? Are we talking
a
about
fire
merging
waiver.
offices? Or
Fire waiver.
I don't really care about the org structure because of the equivalent of the Steph Curry in the role can get
Sure.
things done. I didn't have a lot of authority. I had a staff of like 2 people when I was in the White House, but we got a lot done because we were able to build with arms and legs and love and kindness. And so that's what we did. So I don't know you need, and yeah, I've seen the opposite. You force people into a merger and they don't have the Steph Curry in the role, and therefore it's kind of like not
Yeah,
working.
not working.
So I care more about Steph Curry than I do about like the legal structure around it.
All right.
But the job to be done is to do enforcement discretion for any HIPAA transaction that can be done through alternative means, in this case, a fire server. So a fire-based approach allows the plans who are about to spend $1 billion with the next interop rule, 0057. Why not get them to get a return on that investment
Yeah.
by saying, oh, and by the way, you can start to decommission all of the legacy systems, so you don't have these redundant connections to the health systems.
That's
You have
what
one.
was being said on the panel that I moderated at the Interrupt Forum. Nancy Bevan was like,
Amen to
we
Nancy.
pay money for this. Like, we will, like, please work with us. We want to do all of these
That's
things
it.
electronically via fire transactions.
It's not hard.
Nobody comes
and
to the
the
table.
reason that matters is what is an eligibility verification without knowing this person qualifies for a meals voucher, Jaffer,
Mhm.
right? That should be part of the response in the
Yeah.
270, 271. Hello, It would take a decade to make that work in EDI. It would take an afternoon to build a FHIR transaction that expands that payload. Hello, we can have nice things.
Yeah.
We just got to organize.
All right.
And we shall.
this guy
Anish
has
for national coordinator.
he has an abundance agenda, everyone. Yeah. Look at him.
do.
Abundance.
Yeah, that
Love
it
it.
is.
Well, I'm into it. Well, look, as usual, we love talking to Anish. He has
Cheers.
Amazing.
big ideas.
Fist bumping.
He's
We
trying to
agree
fist
with
bump for you.
everything you
ladies.
said, which is
Great.
great. Like
I am
we're-
grateful for you to
into it.
convene.
Yeah.
You're convening informally and formally.
The one that you were
matters.
super late to
Yeah.
without permission.
Yeah.
That was weird.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think you need
And no
to
mask.
strike him
So
off
weird.
the-
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
he
yeah.
might not make it.
I met you halfway. I did slub my
He had a tux
my
top.
tux top,
Yeah, you know,
which was
I appreciate
a
that.
hassle.
Yeah, you know, everybody's coming together. They're gonna
It
do cool
is.
stuff because that
Right.
is actually, I think that's how we save America. We just get a bunch of people together,
yes.
buy them drinks, save America.
All right. Thank
See
you.
you later.
Bye.
Everybody. All right. So are we off?
Oh, are we done?
Whoa,
Yeah.
whoa.
Oh,
Okay.
Jesus.
So everyone, this has been incredible. Obviously,
Yeah.
only men are invited to our show this
Oh.
time, which is not great. But
Oh,
Not
we have
later.
women coming
Okay.
on later.
we're gonna be here again at 2 p.m. Pacific, somewhere in this building
We're
with
not
more
sure where.
amazing guests. See you then.
Yeah. See you then. Bye. Au revoir.